Hello, and right now I'll be comparing Google Bard and ChatGPT. As you might know, Google Bard is an AI created by Google, which was released a few days before the making of this video. Now, some obvious advantages of Google Bard is that it has access to the internet, unlike ChatGPT, which only has access to information before mid 2021. Also, in Bard, there's a voice option, so you can actually enter your prompt through voice message, which is easier in some cases. I'll currently be comparing it in terms of code and how it understands the human language. I typically code in React using Tailwind CSS, so we'll be giving them the exact same challenges and we'll see how they react to them. We'll give them something simple. Create a navbar using React.js and Tailwind CSS. As you can see, there is already an issue with this, as it didn't create the navbar using Tailwind CSS, as I asked. It created with normal CSS, which isn't what I asked. And well, a very simple navbar, but I didn't give it anything special as a task. So let's use the exact same prompt to ChatGPT. Now, I've tested this out recently, and I found that ChatGPT understands logic and English much better than Bard. For example, I gave it a task of creating a React component with text on the left and an image on the right. GPT generated me a decent component, but Bard didn't generate anything, saying it can't generate images. Now, GPT is kind of slow right now for some reason. Maybe it's high activity. And this is one minus of ChatGPT, is the way it generates code. Sometimes it generates it like this, so you actually have to paste it into a code editor to see what's going on. It's not a big issue and it will probably be fixed soon, but still it can be annoying. However, in Bard, all the code looks very clean and good. As you can already see, GPT is generating a much more sophisticated navbar with a lot of properties and actually using Tailwind CSS, unlike Bard, which simply uses normal CSS and creates, well, not even really a navbar, just a component it calls navbar. And as you can see, this thing already generates links with a lot of styles. So we'll wait a little until this finishes. Let's see how it reacts to criticism. So I wanted to use Tailwind CSS. It did not. For this response, uses classic CSS. However, I need you to use Tailwind CSS. Let's see what happens now. As you can see, nothing. It simply regenerated me the same thing as before, without understanding what I meant. And I believe this is now done. Yes. Already have my Visual Studio Code open with a basic React Vite project, so we can test it out really quickly. So let's go in here. I have my navbar here, and we can paste all of this in. We can run a command to launch our local server on localhost 5173. And for some reason the site isn't being reached. Alright, we can just go in like this. And there is some issue. We can look through the console if some issue is with the code. And it seems not. The code seems... For some reason the server stopped working really quickly because I pressed Ctrl C. And now it's working. So, as you can see, quite a sophisticated navbar. There's a place for a logo, multiple links, it even gets its little background when you hover over it. So a very good navbar for a very vague prompt. What Bard did though is most likely a worse navbar, judging by this CSS. And well, it didn't actually use what I asked it to do. So let's give it a task that I gave you previously to try and make something with text on the left and an image on the right. Create a React component with text on the left and an image on the right. As you can see, it didn't do anything. It is possible that by the time you're watching this video, all of these bugs have been fixed. As you can see, Bard is still in experiment version. So it's not fully complete, and there are issues like this where it can't generate a lot of code. I won't be comparing this part because obviously Bard didn't even generate anything at all. So let's see if we can spot a basic error. I will simply remove this symbol from here, completely breaking the application, but we'll see if Bard will notice it. What is the issue with this code? And as you can see, it did correct the code. It was obviously a very basic mistake, but still it corrected it. And if we give the same task to GPT, I do believe it will handle it pretty easily. What is the issue with this code? Now, it does seem like Bard usually generates text faster and code. But here, we're only gave us part of the code, the one that the issue was in. It generated quite quickly. Now, obviously, the biggest advantage currently of Bard is the access to the internet. For example, to connect smart contracts to my React applications, I usually use a library called ThirdWeb. Now, the library was created in 2022, I believe, or maybe late 2021, and GPT doesn't recognize it. So we can say, what is the ThirdWeb library? And as you can see, it doesn't recognize anything. We can simply third web into Bard, and it should generate us enough information about it, maybe even give us some code. We'll see. As you can see, it is more or less correct on what it said. I believe it is also a framework, not just a library. But yes, as you can see, it generated. GPT couldn't do that. But I believe this advantage will be gone rather soon, as GPT is creating an update where it will get access to the internet, which means it will almost beat ChatGPT. It will almost beat Bard on all fronts. And well, this was my comparison of the two AIs, and see for yourself which one you like more.